Real Madrid have officially opened talks with Jürgen Klopp, and the German coach is ready to take over the biggest job in world football, but only on his terms. Barcelona are lining up another huge transfer gamble in attack and look ready to repeat all the same mistakes that got them into financial trouble in the first place. Rodrigo could be leaving Real for the Premier League, with several English giants circling. And in MLS, Inter Miami are heading to the playoff final, the last dance for Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba, and maybe the start of a new chapter with a very unexpected striker signing. This is Football Frenzy, and you're watching your top 10 hottest football stories right now. Take a second to tap like and subscribe. That's literally the fuel that keeps this show running every single day. And let's get into it. Chelsea just put in two massive performances against Barcelona and Arsenal, and then turned around and completely collapsed against Leeds. Conceding 3 goals to this Leeds side takes some doing, and Chelsea somehow made it look easy. You could see the hangover from those big games. Yes, Chelsea's squad is deep. Yes, they're young and athletic, but even that has a limit. Against Leeds, they just looked spent. The manager went heavy with his starters again instead of rotating more, and the team's energy dropped off a cliff. On top of that, some of the personnel decisions were painful. Tosin Adarabioyo had a nightmare moment, giving the ball away basically on his own goal line and handing Leeds a goal out of nothing. As long as Chelsea are relying on makeshift center-backs every week, it's hard to seriously blame the coach for everything. Trevoh Chalobah is in the 11. The one genuinely top-level central defender is made of glass and constantly injured, and the club somehow spent enough money for 3 squads, without buying 2 rock-solid starting center-backs. Compare that to Arsenal. They've quietly built not just a strong starting 11, but almost 2 full competitive lineups. Against Brentford, Arteta only used about half of his core starters and still got the job done. Rotation players combined for the opener, and Ben White, finally back in the 11, immediately looked like the best player on the pitch, winning duels, making tackles, clearing danger, and even registering an assist. That's the difference right now. Chelsea are burning through energy and still look fragile, while Arsenal can rotate and keep winning. Depth isn't just about numbers, it's about quality in key positions. Rodrigo is only 24, but he's already in his 10th professional season. That alone tells you how talented he is. Real Madrid paid big money for him 6 years ago, around 45 million euros for a teenager from Santos. And for a long time, it looked like money well spent. He scored huge goals, helped win trophies, and looked like part of the club's future. But right now, he's a shadow of himself. Rodrigo hasn't scored for Real Madrid in nearly 1,000 minutes. That's the worst streak for a Real forward since 2006. Some of that is about playing time. He's getting fewer minutes under Xabi Alonso than under Ancelotti. But even when he's on the field, he doesn't look like the same player. It's not just about goals and assists. You can be useful without scoring if you're sharp, aggressive, and creating danger. The problem is, he's lost that spark. No explosiveness, no confidence, none of that Brazilian flair and joga bonito you expect from him. Yes, he works hard off the ball, presses, tracks back, but Real didn't buy him just to run and defend. People around the club quietly talk about off-field stuff too. A tough breakup, distractions, personal life getting in the way. Whatever the reason, the bottom line is simple. Both the player and the club are ready for a change. According to multiple reports, Real Madrid are now open to selling him if a serious offer arrives. All summer there were rumors about a possible exit, but nothing materialized. Now, Rodrigo himself has reportedly asked to leave, ideally in the winter window. He wants a bigger role and a coach who will build more of the attack around him instead of using him as a joker off the bench. Real, meanwhile, have options. Young forward Gonzalo Garcia impressed at the Club World Cup and is pushing hard for more minutes. If Rodrigo leaves, Garcia can finally get a real run of games. And Rodrigo gets a fresh start in a new league. Who's interested? A bunch of Premier League clubs. Manchester City, Liverpool, Tottenham. England is the natural next step. His form has dropped, so he'll be available at a discount compared to his peak value. And for a top English side, that's the perfect opportunity to buy a high upside winger who just needs to reset his career. Everyone knows Brighton's owner Tony Bloom loves numbers, poker, and betting. He was gambling before he was even legally allowed to, using fake documents as a teenager. Later, he turned it into a full-time profession, quit his job at a major firm, and started making serious money from the bookies instead of working for them. He did so well that one of the big betting companies actually hired him after noticing this mystery guy who kept beating their models. Then he opened his own company. Eventually, off the back of that success, he bought Brighton and Hove Albion and applied his data-driven approach to football. He also runs StarLizard, a private analytics and betting operation that uses giant data models and investor money to place huge targeted bets on football. Their work is so secretive that almost nothing is public. If bookmakers could see where StarLizard money was going, they'd change the lines instantly. Now, all of that background has blown up into a potential disaster. A former StarLizard employee claims Bloom is at the center of a private betting syndicate that includes over 100 people, including athletes, ex-players, and businessmen. Because Bloom is an actual club owner in the Premier League, he's in a completely unique position. Officially, the league allows him to bet on football under one massive restriction: no betting on Brighton and no betting on the Premier League. According to the whistleblower, the syndicate got around that by using offshore accounts and proxies, including accounts connected to a man previously jailed in the US for money laundering. If those allegations are proven, we're looking at huge consequences. Bloom could be forced to sell Brighton. He could even face criminal charges. And any active Premier League players who were involved in betting on games could be hit with long suspensions, just like Ivan Toney, who was banned for violations of betting rules. For now, it's all under investigation, but the idea that a Premier League owner might be tied to a shadow betting network is exactly the kind of story that could explode over the next few months. This week, Inter Miami play the MLS Cup final against Vancouver, the last chance to see Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba in a truly high-stakes game. After that, both legends are expected to hang up their boots. You can be sure they'll empty the tank one last time to walk away with a trophy. Behind the scenes, Miami are already planning life after them. For a long time, they were linked with Neymar. From a marketing perspective, it would be insane. Messi Neymar in Miami would explode every chart. But inside the club, there's a more pragmatic view. The sporting director and Javier Mascherano, who's expected to stay involved in the project, want something different: a stronger defense and a reliable, hard-working center forward. So Neymar is off the table. Instead, the main plan for 2026 is to build a more balanced team and bring in a striker who can dominate at MLS level, not necessarily at Ballon d'Or level. That's where Timo Werner comes in. Is he a world-class forward anymore? No, but for MLS, with his pace and movement, he can absolutely be a top-tier signing. The idea is simple: less circus, more structure. On the other side of the bracket, Vancouver, with Thomas Mueller in their lineup, knocked out LA, where Son Heung-min is playing his MLS chapter. That elimination frees up Son's schedule, which is perfect timing for his emotional return to London. Tottenham have already announced that Son will come back to North London for a special ceremony. The club is unveiling a mural near the stadium in his honor. On December 9th, he'll be at the match to say goodbye properly to the fans. He's second on Spurs' all-time scoring list, first among those who actually lifted a trophy with the club, and alongside Harry Kane, he's one of the two modern faces of Tottenham. Honestly, with everything he's done, a mural might not be enough. At some point, Spurs will probably have to build him a statue too. Just a couple of years ago, Ronald Araujo was the heart of Barcelona's defense and a fan favorite, especially after that Clásico where he locked up Vinicius Jr. Under Xavi, he was perfect for a more flexible system that sometimes dropped deeper and didn't insist on an ultra-high defensive line. With Hansi Flick, everything changed. Flick's football demands aggressive pressing, synchronized movement, and defenders who are extremely comfortable on the ball and in the high line. Your timing has to be perfect. One defender breaks the line at the wrong moment, and the whole offside trap collapses. That's where Araujo has struggled. His positioning in a high line isn't always clean, and his passing, which had improved under Xavi, has regressed again under pressure. In Flick's game model, he ends up looking like the odd piece in the puzzle, a great defender. In the wrong system, On top of that footballing mismatch, the mental pressure has been enormous. Araujo cares deeply, and every mistake hits him hard. Criticism from media and fans has been relentless. Recently, he and his agents met with the club and told them something important. Physically, he's fine. Mentally, he's not. He doesn't feel able to train and compete at the level expected right now. Barcelona's response was surprisingly supportive. They gave him an indefinite leave. No fixed date, no 2 weeks and back. Just get better, take the time you need and come back when your head is in a better place. On Transfermarkt, his status was updated with a word you almost never see next to a player's name: depression. Araujo is the first to have it written so bluntly in that injury column, but he's obviously not the first footballer to go through it. Most just suffer in silence. Samuel Umtiti, who recently retired, said exactly that. He hurt himself by staying quiet for too long, convinced that he had to be mentally strong and never admit he needed help. Araujo is doing the opposite, and that might save his career, and more importantly, his well-being. From a football perspective, the solution looks pretty clear. If Flick stays, Araujo probably needs a new club where his strengths fit better and his weaknesses aren't exposed every week. He's a very good defender, just not the right one for this version of Barcelona. Liverpool dropped points again, this time against Sunderland. It wasn't a disaster, but it was another reminder that this team is stuck in a weird transition. In the first half, Liverpool actually looked good. High pressing, sharp combinations, Florian Wirtz constantly finding pockets of space between the lines. They created enough to score, but nothing went in. They weren't perfect, but they were clearly on top. Then came the turning point, and it wasn't a goal. It was Mohamed Salah's entrance. Once he came on, Liverpool didn't collapse, but the attack lost its shape. Movements became less coordinated, runs overlapped, and the team started forcing long shots instead of building through patterns. The chemistry they'd had earlier just disappeared. Of course, the goal they conceded didn't help. Virgil van Dijk lost the ball in a dangerous area, and a deflected shot flew in off him. Even in this phase of his career, he makes fewer big mistakes than Konate, but you can see the signs. When the tempo becomes insanely high, he doesn't always look as dominant as he used to. Whether it's confidence, age, or just the weight of a shaky team, something's off. Liverpool did fight back. Wirtz again showed why people rate him so highly: pressing, recovering the ball, turning under pressure, creating chances. Federico Chiesa came off the bench and produced one of those all-energy shifts that Liverpool fans adore, sprinting back to clear a ball off the line after running the length of the field, then immediately joining the attack again. Meanwhile, Salah was watching from the bench with a balaclava on. In this game and in the previous one against West Ham, where Liverpool also looked better without him. He's one of the greatest players in club history, one of the best forwards of this era, but right now, the team's game is flowing more naturally when he's not on the pitch. That's a huge problem. You can't keep a superstar of his status on the bench forever. It's expensive, it's politically dangerous in the locker room, and it eventually explodes. If this dip in form is just temporary, Liverpool will wait it out. If it's the beginning of a real decline, they'll have to consider selling him, no matter how painful that sounds. From day one of this season, it's felt like Barcelona have been preparing the ground for Robert Lewandowski's exit. Constant leaks about the club wanting to move him on, and they're coming from very reliable places, including Fabrizio Romano and The Athletic. The irony? Lewandowski doesn't want to leave. He loves the city, he loves the club, and he's even willing to take a big pay cut just to stay. According to reports, he told the board he'd accept a significantly lower salary and a reduced role. More time on the bench, more mentoring, fewer guaranteed starts. But Joan Laporta has other ideas. He wants one more blockbuster striker signing. Barca are monitoring Harry Kane's situation at Bayern, hoping that if Kane asks to leave, they can jump in with an offer around 65 million euros. If that doesn't work, another target is Julian Alvarez from Atletico Madrid. To afford it, Barcelona are ready to offer not just cash, but players like Ferran Torres and Marc Casado in a package deal. On paper, that might solve some immediate financial numbers. Swap wages, move a big contract, bring in a new star. But on the pitch, it looks like another huge gamble. Ferran Torres quietly delivers important goals and big performances. Casado is one of the most promising academy talents. Add Lewandowski and even Marcus Rashford leaving, and suddenly you're ripping out a massive chunk of your attack. And all of this for one player who, no matter how good he is, can't play every single match. You're shrinking your options, betting everything on one forward, and trusting that the academy will magically fill all the gaps again. That's exactly the kind of thinking that got Barcelona into trouble in the first place. Lewandowski is aging, sure, and at some point you do have to move on. But the way Laporta is approaching it, sacrificing depth, selling useful pieces, chasing a headline signing, feels less like long-term planning and more like chasing that one splashy move for the front page. Real Madrid beat Athletic Club, but Xabi Alonso's future is still hanging by a thread. Kylian Mbappé is in monster form and basically dragging the team through the title race. Without him, this season might already be over. With him, they're alive, and Alonso still has a job. How much of Mbappé's explosion is down to the coach? Hard to say. The bigger issue is the rest of the dressing room. Alonso has to manage relationships with Jude Bellingham, Vinicius, Mbappé, and all the other stars. If that balance breaks, he risks going the same way as many Spanish coaches who've tried to manage Real since Vicente del Bosque. According to reports from Spain, Real Madrid have already been in direct contact with Jürgen Klopp. The German is officially on a break after leaving Liverpool, and he's not desperate to rush back. But there's one job he would return for, and that's Real Madrid, under his conditions. Klopp's main demand: control over the squad and transfers. That's exactly what caused friction with Michael Edwards at Liverpool. Klopp's influence over recruitment was huge, and not everyone in the front office was thrilled. Now he wants full power at Real. And that's complicated, because Madrid is the kingdom of Florentino Perez. Yes, there are scouts like Juni Calafat, but every big decision goes through Florentino. That's how it's always worked. People who've tried to challenge that system are no longer at the club. If Perez agrees to share some of that power, we could see a Real Madrid reshaped in Klopp's image. Heavy metal pressing, a new spine built around a top-class defensive midfielder, and a true number 9 to free Mbappé from carrying everything. If Perez says no, he has a backup plan: Cesc Fabregas. Fabregas has done outstanding work at Como, playing aggressive, modern football, building strong relationships in the locker room, and earning respect from players and other coaches. Real's hierarchy are watching him closely as a potential long-term option. But for now, Alonso is still in the hot seat. The media keep writing about a toxic atmosphere in the dressing room, and unless results and performances improve quickly, it feels like only a matter of time before Florentino pulls the trigger, whether that's for Klopp, Fabregas, or someone else. Mohamed Salah didn't play a single minute in Liverpool's win over West Ham, the game that finally snapped their losing streak. That wasn't the first time this season that Liverpool have looked sharper without him. That alone is a huge red flag. After that match, Arne Slot was asked about Salah and gave a careful, respectful answer. Too many games, heavy schedule, he's still very important. We'll see what happens midweek. Then, midweek came, and against Sunderland, Salah stayed on the bench again, watching in a mask. He's not happy. Of course he isn't. This is one of the best forwards of the 21st century, one of the greatest players in Liverpool history. He's not used to being a spectator. But the reality is, right now, Liverpool's football looks more fluid and less predictable when he's not involved. The club has to think long-term. If this is the beginning of Salah's physical decline, if the insane intensity of the Premier League is finally catching up with him, despite all the work he puts into his body, then keeping him as a high-salary backup makes no sense. It's expensive, it affects the locker room hierarchy, and it blocks the path for new stars. That's why, according to Spanish transfer outlets, Liverpool are ready to listen to offers for Salah as early as this winter. And everyone knows who's waiting: Saudi Arabia. The league has wanted Salah for a long time. For them, he's the perfect signing, a Muslim superstar, a legend of European football, and the biggest name in North Africa, a key strategic market. If he moves, the contract will be enormous. There are even whispers it could surpass Cristiano Ronaldo's deal. Liverpool would free up a huge chunk of their wage bill and could invest in a younger attacker or, more urgently, in a new defensive leader at the back. It's not the ending Liverpool fans dreamed of. But if Salah doesn't rediscover his old level soon, the path towards Saudi Arabia and one last mega contract is starting to look very real. Mbappé chasing a historic goal record. Real Madrid's win over Athletic Club wasn't just important for the table, it was another episode in the Kylian Mbappé show. Athletic were surprisingly passive at home. Instead of parking the bus and making life miserable, they tried to crowd midfield without really committing to a deep block. That played straight into Madrid's hands. For the first time in weeks, the team's structure looked more natural. Fullbacks actually overlapping, wingers holding width instead of constantly swapping sides, midfielders arriving in the box instead of watching from a distance. Trent Alexander-Arnold, signed to give Real a different type of right-back, finally reminded everyone what he does best. Gorgeous diagonal balls that break lines in one pass. Two of those deliveries directly led to goals. Jude Bellingham, even without scoring, worked like a monster off the ball. Pressing, tracking back, helping break pressure near his own box. And then there's Mbappé. Xabi Alonso seems to have quietly accepted the same thing Carlo Ancelotti once did. Players like Mbappé and Vinicius need a certain amount of freedom. Let them drift, let them improvise a bit, and live with the occasional chaos, because the upside is terrifying for defenses. The first goal said it all. Mbappé received the ball in a not-so-dangerous position after a pass from Trent. 2 dribbles later, he'd sent both defenders the wrong way and smashed the ball into the corner under pressure from the third. That's not tactics, that's a cheat code. Here's the crazy part. In 2025, Mbappé already has 62 goals. Only 3 individual seasons in history are clearly above that. Cristiano Ronaldo in 2013, Robert Lewandowski in 2021, and Lionel Messi's absurd 91-goal year in 2012. Nobody is touching Messi's 91 anytime soon. But Ronaldo and Lewandowski's marks? Mbappé can absolutely get there. Real have 4 games left this year: Celta, Alaves, Manchester City, and Sevilla. He needs 8 goals to pass them. Given his current form, that's not fantasy. In this match alone, he bagged a brace and added a beautiful assist for Eduardo Camavinga, flicking on another Trent cross into his path. A hat-trick of goal involvements in a must-win game. There's no debate. He was the best player on the pitch by a mile. If he closes the year with another explosion, we might be looking back on 2025 as one of the greatest individual scoring seasons of the modern era. And that's it for today's Football Frenzy. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next roundup. Your support is what keeps this show running every single day. Thanks for spending some time with us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and as always, stay tuned, stay sharp, and enjoy your football.